This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is show for the week of July 10th, 2023, and it's time for a new game. So we retired our takes, and we added a new game called MOUSE Mastermind. Mastermind is a fun vacation planning game that we kind of created, and it's going to be evolving over time, but more to come on that later. Also, with some of the news and surveys about Genie Plus going around, we're going to talk about different changes. And we've talked about them a lot, Phil, already. Yep. But we're going to kind of talk about how they impact our vacation, because you and I apparently spent 5 hours of our working day going back and forth on another forum about this, and it was rather fun. Our top 3 walkthrough attractions, or things you can walk through. I don't think it's like limited to that.
Right.
With the prelude to Journey of Water coming online. So that's a little bit of the news. So that being said, what is everyone talking about, Phil? Because I think that might be one of them.
Yes. So a couple small sort of breaking news things that happened today. So I'm glad we're recording on Monday and not last night.
Yes.
But the first one that came up is that the Haunted Mansion at Disney World is going to be closing for a small refurbishment. They're calling it just for routine maintenance, routine refurbishment, but it will be closed from August 7th through August 9th. So then reopening on August 10th. As soon as they announced that, everybody jumped to the conclusion that this is when they are going to be installing the Hatbox Ghost, because that's something that they said at last D23 is going to happen this year. And, you know, it said it's going to be back online by the 10th, and the first Halloween party is the 11th. So timing sounds good. Scott Gustin did just come out and say that's not happening this, but I don't know. I think it could be one of those things where, well, that's not what this refurb's for, but while it's down, we'll put it in as well. But I guess we'll see, because the movie comes out July 28th, so it kind of would be nice to have the figure in there sooner rather than later.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm assuming the animatronic has to be done by now. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's just supposed to be, I think, just a copy of the one at Disneyland. I think they have the figure already. It's just they need to put it in. So I don't know what.
I mean, it's a type of attraction. Like, it doesn't have to like impact. You're just putting it like in a spot, right? You just go by it and it does its thing. So I don't know why this isn't in sooner, but anyway, maybe they have a plan.
Yeah, hopefully they do. So, but that would be nice if that got done before the first Halloween parties and stuff like that, and before my trip would be nice too. Nice. Speaking of things that would be nice if they were open before my trip, the other breaking news that came out today is that Disney announced select cast members will have their previews for Journey of Water, inspired by Moana, starting on July 25th. Carrying through August 19th. They said so far that'll be for all salaried cast members will have the opportunity, but they feel like all general cast members will have previews probably around similar times as well. So I did look at kind of like previous attractions, when was the previews for the cast members versus when the attraction opened, and it gave me basically no information, because for Tron, it was like 2 months before the attraction opened, the cast members had previews. And then like going back before COVID, like Mickey and Minnie's, it was like they had the previews ended and then the ride opened to everybody like 2 days later. Right. So there doesn't necessarily seem to be a rhyme or reason to
and this is
predicting
not even an
that.
Attraction. This is just like a walkthrough kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there's supposed to be. I guess they have to test out, because there's like interactive elements, and they had some of that going today. The fountains were jumping around, and there was mist going on, and like it looked pretty cool. But I guess they have to kind of test, how many people can be in one area at once and things still work. Sure. Kind of like load management and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not like safety tests like they have to do at Tron and stuff like that. So I don't know, or load, all the load management type things they have to do for loading the ride vehicles. There's no ride vehicles. So I'm not sure how much testing it needs.
Well, I mean, the crowds at Disney are so low right now. It can't really be overwhelming this anyway. I think my prediction that this was going to be open for your trip in August, whenever I first made that.
Yeah,
I think we're in pretty good odds that that's going to be the case.
I keep going back and forth, but it'll be nice if it's open. It'll be a nice little bonus.
What day in August is your arrival date?
So my Epcot day, and that's when would be the most important, is August 30th.
Oh, that's at least 10 days after cast member. I mean, you're totally going to see this. I mean, it's, guaranteed. I'm guaranteeing it, Phil.
Okay.
Put it on your list.
And if not, if there's only annual pass holder previews, you volunteer to pay for my annual pass.
Of course.
So,
for your whole family.
For my whole family. The other news that kind of came out, more relevant, again, to someone like me who's got a trip coming up, but they came out with more of the details for the Food and Wine Festival that will be starting shortly. I'm not going to obviously go through all the different booths and tables and foods and stuff like that, but some of the kind of bigger elements to it is they did announce that the Muppets Lab will be coming back and will be over at the Odyssey Pavilion where they have the brewing events. They mentioned about Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker, and they're going to have more outlandish type foods that they've been cooking up in the lab for you to try, all in the name of science, of course. So again, nice to see more use of the Muppets. They did announce they didn't really announce it. It just was listed that one of the booths is going to have beaver tails, which normally isn't a big thing, but that used to be a big thing in Epcot, and Epcot hasn't had them in 15 years. So for them to kind of come back as like sort of a traditional Epcot snack is kind of a neat thing to see them come back. So a lot of, longtime Epcot fans are happy to see that, and, kind of going back to the roots of the park. They mentioned the Canada Far and Wide movie will continue to play during the festival. For the last few years, they've been closing that and using it for the Appleseed Orchard, like another food area, but they're not, I guess, going to have that this time. So the movie will stay open during the festival. And then the last thing that came out today is there's 4 new booths, and the food at them came out. What's going to be at the booths came out, and some of them have some pretty fancy food. I was looking at, one of them has charcuterie plates with, like different wine and mead pairings and stuff like that. And then another one is going to have like a whole plate of caviar and have Dom Perignon champagne available. And I don't know exactly what you want
in 95-degree weather, right?
Yeah, and I'm also wondering, what's the over-under on the price for caviar in Epcot?
Snack credits, baby. Snack credits.
If you can use your snack credit for caviar.
Next year.
Best use of a snack credit ever.
Some Dom P with a snack credit.
Your snack credit, you get 2 little eggs of
you get like
caviar.
A syringe of like Dom Perignon squirted in your mouth.
Yeah,
That's it. Done.
But it's nice, whenever news breaks and anything, I think bringing some new things to these festivals is always nice to see. Yes. Kind of felt a little stale for a while. And the last news item is that there's been a survey going around from Disney about potential structure for the new Genie Plus that is supposed to be coming in January-ish or into the new year. And if anybody's read how it's going to work, it certainly sounds a lot like FastPass Plus, except now you have to pay for it. So basically, you'd be able to book ahead of time, just like with FastPass Plus. You'll be able to book 3 ahead of time for each day of your trip. They're even tiering, so it's got everything in there. They said the cost would be between $15 and $35 per person per day. They said resort guests would be able to purchase 7 days in advance, offsite guests 3 days in advance. Some other changes, though, in this is that it looks like they'll be adding tiering to Magic Kingdom. In the past, there was only tiering at the non-Magic Kingdom parks. And also, the individual lightning lanes will remain. So, for example, at Magic Kingdom, Tron and Seven Dwarfs will stay as individual lightning lanes. Then their Tier 1, or I think they're calling them Tier A now, will be Big Thunder, Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan, and Space Mountain. And then everything else will be Tier 2. The one thing that was interesting, at least in the way it reads, is that ahead of time you can pick 1 Tier 1 and then 2 Tier 2s. And then after you use up all 3 on the day of your, that you're in the parks, you can then start grabbing your 4th and your 5th. But it said only of Tier 2 ones. It sounds like you only get the 1 Tier 1 ride. You don't get to have a 2nd or 3rd Tier 1 ride, even if they're availability day of.
See, to me, I don't even think that's going to be a thing. I think Disney surveys, like let's say 1,000 people got the surveys, there's going to be 1,000 different combinations out there. Yeah. I think listening to Len Testa's show, who loves just going over a million surveys all the time, I forget what it was, but they were testing out some new stuff, and it was just like the weirdest different combination and price points of like Genie Plus or individual lightning lanes and stuff like that. So I think what Disney's finding is like, what are the boundaries of people not liking things, right? So if like I will never do this, and everybody says they won't do this, and so they're probably not going to do this. So they're kind of, I think what they're doing is throwing a bunch of darts and seeing kind of where people start zeroing in type.
Yeah, and just kind of what then the scuttlebutt comes around it, what people are commenting on, and either positively or negatively about every sort of element, so they can say, okay, well, overall they seem to like this plan, but they don't like that element of it, so we'll change that around, that sort of thing. So, yeah, so everyone don't get too hung up on the specifics of this. This is just one survey, but it does seem like all signs are pointing to something much more close to just paid FastPass Plus than the current version of Genie.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about this more in detail, I guess, in our topic, which comes next. This is a pretty good segue, Phil, because it basically comes out for me. Because you have down here a question about what do you like any of these changes? Do you prefer the current model? What elements do you like, not like? The big thing for me is the 7 a.m. decisions. I think Genie Plus, just on a functionality point of view, is better than FastPass Plus, minus the non-rewritability of your selections.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, I would like to keep Genie Plus the same, minus the 7 a.m. decisions.
Yep.
That's my big pet peeve. What about you, Phil?
I'm pretty similar. I mean, I wouldn't even mind if it was just you pick your first one ahead of time, because at least then you knew what your first thing of the day was going to be. And you didn't have to do that at 7 a.m. You do the rest, after you've used the first one or two out. So I think that would be fine. I'm okay with it being 7 days in advance. I'd be okay with.
Well, let's go step by step, because we're gonna break this down. So the first thing I have on the list, so our topic for the show is. And then we'll welcome some of our new members to Discord after this. What are the different ways Disney could change Genie Plus for the better, and how does that affect the parks or your vacation, your planning, all that type of stuff, right? So the first thing is, getting rid of the 7 a.m. decisions. That's kind of how I break things down. So basically everything's relatively the same as FastPass Plus, except that you now have to project manage everything the day of. So the first one is prepaying. Is there any upsides or downsides, Phil, to prepaying? For me, it used to be prepaid like we did for our trips last year. Yeah. I want to go back to that. I think it's ridiculous that I'd have to pay $100 every single day that I want to do something like that for my family. So taking that decision away from the day of your vacation makes things happier. They're not shelling out more money. They already paid for it in a big giant bundle package, and they can kind of ignore the pricing. What say you, Phil?
Yeah, I'd say overall that is a net positive. And like you said, you've bundled it together. It's something you've paid off, and you're not thinking about having to pay day of. The only negative side I guess I could see is if the only option they make it is like all or nothing, like it is with park hopping.
True.
Whereas now you can pick, I'm only doing it today, I'm not doing it tomorrow, that sort of thing.
Well, that's a benefit. See, like if you want the no hassle, you could probably end up paying, like, let's say if Magic Kingdom's $28, so they expect it to be $28 for most of the week, you're probably paying maybe $25. Like, I don't know if they average it out. Whatever they do with like normal like ticket prices and stuff like that stuff, you might be paying more ultimately if you were to like cherry pick which days, that type of thing. But yeah, like I would love to be able to pay for hoppers individually. So if you could do both, which you probably will be able to, because not everybody buys a package that goes to Disney World or ticket package, I want to be able to buy it for every single day and eliminate that decision. Or if I want to play that game, I can buy it the day of every single time and cherry pick which days I want it or don't.
Yeah, but then I guess you lose the ability to pre-select. So maybe that's how they work it, is like you have to do it for your whole trip, but then you get the benefit of the pre-selection. Whereas if you wait until day of, then you don't get the pre-selection, but you might save some money.
But you pre-select, they're getting rid of park reservations at that point, right? So this is happening next year at some point.
Yeah, other than for annual pass holders,
Yeah. So like you're already foregone the park res. So like you can't really say I'm buying 4 of these, but how are you doing the pre-booking, right? So I think that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
All right, so the pre-booking window. Okay, so you have Genie Plus, you pre-purchased it somehow. The one does it matter how many days beforehand that you make your selections? Do you care about, Phil? I mean, is it FastPass Plus, which is 60/30?
Yeah, I don't
reservation.
Yeah. I don't think it needs to be 60 days. My kind of sweet spot would be like 2 weeks or 15 days beforehand, because then it's done like before your vacation. Like some people take a couple days to travel to get there and stuff like that, and I don't want to have to be like part of my vacation time is also still booking these things. So I would want all the booking done before I even start my vacation.
Well,
So to me, like the 2 weeks is the nice point, but even with their proposal of 7 days, I think that'd be okay.
I think I definitely agree with you that there's a window leading up to your vacation where you don't want this decision making process.
Yeah.
You're wrapping up work, you're traveling, maybe you're on a cruise leading up to
Exactly.
that type of thing, all those type of things, right? So leading up, that's just silly. So I think 7 days is maybe a minimum.
Yeah.
But like, what's the difference between 7, 14, or 60 in your mind?
I don't think it's a huge deal. Just 60 days seems pretty far out, and things can change in those 2 months and stuff like that. I just don't feel like the need for it to be 60. If it was 60, obviously we worked with it and it was fine. I just think 2 weeks is plenty.
But going back to our caveat of where we were talking about, like, we've lost the magic of the lead up to the Disney vacation, right? So this, going back to the 30, 60 day type of thing, could potentially get us back to the point where, like, we have that lead up, like the 180 day ADR, the 60 day, fast pass, the 30 day magic bands, and then boom, your vacation's here. Do you think that if within 30 days you're doing your ADRs, you're doing your magic bands, you're doing it's like boom, 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 and then you're gone? Or do you prefer it more? I prefer it more.
I guess there's some benefits. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's definitely some benefit to having things stretched out and have a kind of different toll gates as you're going through. One thing would be nice is if Disney sort of set the park hours a little earlier, because sometimes they always like, you're making them 60 days out and then 2 weeks later they change the park hours and stuff like that. But so things to me are a little more set maybe when it's only 2 weeks out, but I get what you're saying. I certainly would be okay with 60 days.
I mean, I'd like 30 or 60. I don't, but if it's at 7, I'm more than happy to do that as well. So I'm not strongly for or against anything over 7 days.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So pre-booking number of lightning lanes that you can book. 1, 2, 3. Like you mentioned, you'd like at least 1. The survey mentioned 3, like FastPass Plus. So do you think that the number matters? We'll start at first at the number and then move out to the other questions.
Sure.
So, FastPass Plus at 3. You suggested before. I like the idea of just making your first one, making it nice and easy. How do you view things? If you had your druthers, and B, what do you think Disney's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first thought with the 3 is I remember back in the old FastPass Plus days, there was like a worry about stuff being, kind of like with ADRs where things were running out. And if you didn't have like 60 plus 10 days or whatever, a lot of times you weren't getting like Slinky Dog or, the high end ones because people had 3 and they could use them up. So in some ways I kind of like just 1, like just get your 1, you're good. You have your start to the day. Obviously with like 3, that sets up more of your day. You kind of have more of a schedule set up. Mm-hmm. But I think, I kind of like that element of Genie Plus where it's just like you get your first, you go do that, and then you kind of move on to the next one. So if I had to pick, I'd say 1. I don't know how strongly I feel, but I think 1 is fine.
I like 1 as well. That's kind of how I'm leading to it. How do you think? Okay, so if we're no matter how many we're picking, do you think you have to be able to select a time for that one, or is it like kind of how it is? It's just like you get dropped in the first one and it's a mystery at that point. I mean, like maybe like pre-selecting, it's like, okay, you now have it. We will tell you what your return time is the day of. Type of
See,
thing.
I wouldn't want that. I would want to know when I pick it, like even if it is just next available, at least it tells me I know a week out that, okay, you're at 10 to 11 or whatever it is. I wouldn't want
window.
I want to know the window. I'm okay if it's just next available and that's just what I get, but I want to know ahead of time what it is so I can plan around it. I know a lot of people really miss the pre-selecting of times, and I do think it's more important if you are able to do 3 because that can help sort of set up your day so you're not jumping back and forth in the park and running from area to area. It kind of helps plan out your day a little bit more by being able to pick the times. I don't feel as strongly about it. So you have a word in here is pre-selecting a time a must? I don't think it's a must. I'm okay with it being the next available as long as it tells me when I book it what my time is.
You had a good point there. Going back to the number. So I'm trying to think how you mash together current Genie Plus with the 2-hour or last used rule, right? Versus pre-selecting 3. So if you pre-select 3 and you get stuck with a late time, like when do you get to make your first selection? Right? With 3,
right?
Like, is it like open plus 6 hours? or is it open +2 and you get to start stacking and get like a head start
Yeah, I
that
mean,
way? Like, how does that work?
definitely, if it was FastPass Plus, and what this survey seemed to imply is that you would have to use all three first before you could pick your fourth.
So it's basically FastPass Plus, then Genie Plus rules after that.
Yeah, which is kind of what FastPass Plus was. You know, you could always pick your fourth and your fifth and stuff.
Right, but like even if you picked one and you didn't have a 2-hour rule, it was just until you used it, right? You couldn't stack
For the
FastPass
bonus
pluses.
ones, right? Yeah.
Yes, the 4 plus.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting to see how they kind of combine all those type of things.
And that's a good. I guess that's a fair point with the not be where I said if you couldn't pick your time, because that would suck if you're like, hey, I want to do Slinky Dog, and it's like, okay, you get 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock at PM at night, and it's like, okay, well now I can't do anything, or I guess then it would be the 2-hour rule or something. Yeah, but yeah, so I think there's pluses and minuses to both. But I know a lot of people feel strongly, and I don't feel strongly against it, so I guess it's fine. I'd be okay with it. I see pluses and minuses to it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Okay, so with the timing and everything, and this is more of a gamesmanship, like what can Disney do? I doubt they do any of this. But they do it with virtual queues. So right now there's virtual queue drops, like you have the 7 a.m. one, and then you have the, was it 1 or 1?
It's 1 p.m. and then 6 p.m. for the deluxe extra hours.
Right. So what if they make Genie Plus with all of your pre-selections happen at the morning portion, right? So you pre-select, it could only be in the morning. And then once 1 o'clock hits, it's open season and it's the rest of the day. So the people that can sleep in or do whatever, they can get Genie Plus, they can find whatever they want. But when they start selecting or stacking or whatever kind of park strategy they have, everything after 1 o'clock is not available until 1 o'clock. So everybody at that point is on the like level playing field. What do you think about something like that?
I think that would be interesting. It definitely would benefit, I think, maybe offsite guests who might not be able to get like their top choices. So if there's kind of that second dump that everybody's eligible for, it would help them out. Yeah, I think especially if you don't get to pick your time, I think that would be a good thing where it's like, okay, we're going to pre-select your time. It's next available, but it's only going to be for the morning. That's all we have. And then like kind of the afternoon time slots aren't available until day of or something like that.
The only reason why I think this doesn't, well, I don't know, but I think what it pushes back against people who don't like going into the parks early in the day. Yeah. Or sometimes they go in at like 10 or 11 o'clock and now their pre-selections are kind of like squished a little bit. So maybe it potentially going to the other. My only point is if we're going to go towards tiering, and I guarantee you Magic Kingdom was going towards a tiered approach in the FastPass Plus thing. That was only a matter of time before it was either pay for or tiered at Magic Kingdom. I think that might affect things, people's value, or they get angry. Like, I never go to the parks until 1 o'clock. Why should I don't get this perk, I want another perk type of thing. I think that's the only thing. But my last question about like timing. So can you have a good Genie Plus system worth the cost that doesn't allow window selection? So as this is now a prepaid system, can you still find value if you can't select your time? Do you think? Or is that kind of just completely gone? Like,
I still think there could be value. Like I said, especially if it was only one and it said, okay, here's your first one pre-selection, just because that's how it works now, right? You wake up at 7 a.m. and it's the first available and that's what you get. Basically it would be the same thing. You would just know a week ahead of time when it would be. So I think there's probably more value if you're able to pick a time, but I think it could still
100%.
Work without it. Especially like I think if you only did the one pre-selection. If there's the three, then and you're all like you don't have any input on how they relate to each other or anything like that, then I think it gets a little messy.
So like the way I think things should happen, right? If I was designing, I mean, I would completely revamp the whole system, but that's not going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So like the way I would do this is you have one pre-selection, right? So if I was modifying Genie Plus, this is what I would do. You book them, you prepay for a package. Mm-hmm. You could pre-book them 7+ days out, whenever that date is. And then you pick your first one. It could be anytime you want. You have a window, you could pick one, right? Anything you want. And then you can't get another one until park plus 2 hours, right? You're done, right? Just like you normally do. Or if you use it first, right? Mm-hmm. The same rules apply. I think that's the best way to do it. So off-site guests, you cannot get your Lightning Lane selection until you tap into the park. And I believe that's how Disneyland does it, if I'm correct. Or am I wrong against that?
I'm not
because I know they do something a little bit differently. Anyway, I could be completely wrong, and you can kill me on Discord. However, I think offsite guests, that pay for it, you can use it once you get into the park, and that'll give a perk to offsite guests, and allows the struggle in the morning to be gone. Right, you're not sitting there at 7:00 in the morning, and your day's not ruined. You go into the park, you have Genie Plus ready, and as soon as you enter, you can now start selecting your things. And the only downside to that is now you're not stacking like all morning before you get there. And I do not like that. I love the feature of stacking. I like the strategy of it.
Yeah.
But what it forces me not to have fun, because I'm constantly thinking about stacking and checking and walking back times to push. Like there's too much like stuff. I want to sit there, have a drink, and not be on my phone refreshing and trying to get better times. I don't want that. And you have to do that if you're stacking.
Yeah. So
what do you
could
think
you? I just want to make sure I got it right. When you said on-site guests would book like 7 days out or whatever, but off-site would only be day of and only when they enter the park, or
correct?
Okay, so they don't get much of a benefit. They can't pick their first one until they get into the park that day.
Tap in and they go, because no one else is selecting, right? On-site guests have already selected, right? You don't select until you tap into the park. So there's no like scrambling the day of, because like there's no most of the guests that are on site, or maybe you give APs the ability to select at 7:00. I don't know. Like you want to give APs a bone. I think that might be a good one. But personally, I don't think there shouldn't be a scramble the day of, or as soon as you wake up.
Yeah, I just feel like
start planning. I don't like that.
Then there's a scramble when you tap in. So all the people off site are waiting for the rope drop to, for them to get in. And as soon as they tap, then they stop and get on their phone to pick the first one and messing up the queue and turnstiles.
They're already doing that with pictures and everything else, right? I mean, I don't think that's as big of an issue.
I think it's a little messy.
But I don't think there's that many power users out there that are constant. Like if you're a power user, you're going to get there at rope drop and you're ready to go and you're moving in, right? Like I think the vast majority of people are going to be trickling in and checking out the stuff as they get it, and might not even be buying it until like an hour into the park when they realize that they can buy it.
Yeah. I guess I'm okay with giving offsite guests they would be, and annual pass holders, the chance to book ahead of time. I actually kind of like the idea in the survey where it's 7 days for onsite, 3 days for offsite, or something like that. So onsite gets sort of the first choice of everything, but then offsite still gets, they're still set for their day to start their day. Maybe it's because I sometimes stay offsite.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know, I get it. It's just, I think you have to build in a system that it's a perk for offsite guests. And I think you have to take away the 7. I mean, I would want to get rid of all the decision-making processes of the 7 a.m. Maybe it's you're buying a day pass or whatever. You still allow it because you're choosing to do that. I mean, I'm okay with that. But in any case, I think we kind of killed that one. Do you want to go over social media and
So if you have any reaction to these rumors and kind of would you prefer basically paid Fast Pass Plus or some other combination, let us know. All on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also on Threads now. You can find us on the new hotness that is Threads. We are at the DBC Pod everywhere. And of course, our Discord server.
Yes. And welcome to Disney Dad _. I'm wondering if Disney Dad was taken somewhere else. Thank you for joining the community.
We have so many Disney Dads. So
yes, we're all Disney Dads here. Make sure you jump in and hop into the DBC podcast thread or forum and contribute to the DBC engagement on a weekly basis. Please make sure you like and subscribe and all that other fun stuff. We appreciate all the new engagement. There's been some really awesome engagement in the last week. I think we should just keep begging people, not just on the show, but on social media across the week, and get people more on and joining things. So that being said, Phil, I think it's time for our brand new segment.
Yes.
We've been so long with the previous format of top 3 hour takes DBC engagement that I'm like, you know what? Not that we're struggling to find hour takes, but like these started getting very, very similar to the top 3.
Yeah, it was sometimes it was hard to come up with both a top 3 and an hour take. We had kind of one or the other, and then we'd be scrambling for the second one.
So we've been building something for the last like week or two. You started this with the inspiration from Matt Pato's Happily Everything Disney podcast, where they did a nuts and bolts episode where they listed all these different things that you could pay Disney for, and it's something you would bolt on, like a Genie Plus or a Memory Maker, those type of things, or are you nuts to pay for it, right? So they had this. It was a really good episode. I would say go out and go check it out and listen, give it a good listen. So Phil wanted to make a game about it and have kind of some crossover event between our two podcasts and have some fun stuff. And then I'm like, you know what? We were originally, our original motivation for this podcast was all about planning in our spreadsheets and kind of doing all this stuff. But it was kind of, we can't have a live show or a show recorded with one person and just do like a, Disney planning consultation type of thing. That's a boring show. That lasts way too long and stuff like that. But we finally got together and we made a giant spreadsheet, and it's a game about planning a week or whatever, a Disney vacation with a bunch of different things and knobs that you can turn. So, for example, the basic input that we're asking Phil and I, we create a scenario. We give a budget, how many guests, adults and children, how many. Actually, we don't. What do we do, Phil? We do when you want to go in the year. What kind of touring styles? Is it your first time? Is it like a repeat guest? You're here for festivals. I love Star Wars. Any kind of reason people might go to Disney World. The number of people that you're going and how much money you want to spend, right? Yep. And that's basically it. And then we kind of throw some other things. You have a 4-year-old, you have a teenager, you have, you want to do this. I mean, as we go through different episodes, we're going to throw different twists to kind of things that you have to do and kind of force things around. But things like, how many tickets that you use? Do you have hoppers? Do you add Disney Genie Plus? Do you have Disney Dining Plan? Do you have to rent a stroller? Do you want to do extra magic hour or extra hour events, party tickets? Do you have a souvenir budget? All these different things or different dials that we can turn in, and all of our good friends on Discord. And special thanks to Doxy for making a giant list of different things that you can kind of add on. Phil and I are going to be sharing these images of the spreadsheet on social media. And if you're watching this on YouTube, as we talk about, I'm going to flash them on the screen so you can kind of check out what they look like. So what we're doing, so today's game, their inaugural game, is we're going to have a family of 3, 2 adults and a 4-year-old for their first time at Walt Disney World. They've never been before, so not even as kids. This is not their first time as a family. It's their first time ever. And they want to experience as much as possible. They have a budget of $5,000, and they're open to go at any time of the year. Okay. So again, Phil could have like hoppers for 2 days in a deluxe resort and stay like that, or you can go with a value stay for a longer stay, those type of things. So I'm really curious, Phil, how we've both structured this. I haven't seen your spreadsheet. You cheated and looked at mine earlier. But we have a lot of different things here that we can kind of check the boxes. The spreadsheet is once you start changing things around, it starts taking away from your budget. So in real time, you're clicking, you're turning dials, you're doing all these different things, and you can see how much you're spending at Walt Disney World. A couple of different caveats. I have not included travel expenses here. So I'm assuming I can't say if his family of 4 is from Denver and they want to go to Walt Disney World, and I'm not going to go look up flights for Denver because that's too much of a variable. So I'm assuming they're taking care of their travel outside of their Disney World budget. I use kind of like an average for a lot of these costs. A lot of these costs do fluctuate. For our park tickets, just to kind of give you an idea, I've used $144 as a base 1-day park ticket, with a pack of 9 being $774. Now those tickets fluctuate from like $10 less to $10 more, but I kind of picked an average, kind of just perusing the calendar for the next year. A lot of these things have been kind of averaged out. For example, Genie Plus, I have $25 for Magic Kingdom, $17 for Animal Kingdom, $19 for Epcot, and $24 for Hollywood Studios is our base cost. Sue me if there are a couple dollars off left and right. So, I mean, that doesn't impact the game too much. We're trying to have fun here. All right, guys? So, let me be. There's also a line for discounts. So, you want to apply discounts to it. What do you think that may be? There'd be discounts to hotels and rack rates. I don't have any other deals, but there's rooms if we ever wanted to add it to kind of put some other things in here. Okay, that being said, Phil, we haven't discussed how we're going to walk through these things. So, do we just go and you start talking about yours and how you want to do things, and I comment on, and I just ask you questions as you're going to go through them? Or do you want to go like back and forth? What do you think is going to be?
I think it makes more sense to go kind of trip one at a time, because it's sort of like, well, what was my mentality in putting this, everything together and how it fits together. So I think that makes
Okay.
the most sense.
I agree with you. So this is what we're going to do. There is 4 categories basically that make up your main budget. Phil's sheet is a little bit older, so you don't have tax in yours, but that's fine. So the first one is total tickets and hotel costs, party and merchandise. That's your souvenir budget. Any additional expenses, if you so wish to add them, your total dining budget, your Genie Plus budget, and your total bolt-ons section, which will go at a later date. So let's start section by section, and then as soon as you kind of review what you've picked and how much it's going to cost, I will make any comments if I so wish.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Rock roll.
Yeah. So my thought when you said the family's first time going and they have a 4-year-old, I'm thinking I want them to go for as long as possible, as long as their money can take them, and kind of be able to take the days easy, not have to go kind of commando because you only have a 4-year-old. And so I kind of wanted just to see how much could their dollars stretch to get the most days possible. So for me, obviously that was starting with a value hotel, which I think also fits. When you have a younger kid, whether it's, a lot of the oversized things at the All-Stars or Pop Century or whatever it is, I think that fits well. And for only 3 people, you fit into one of those rooms. No problem. Fair enough. They said they're open to any time of the year. I don't think my plan dictates too much as long as I would pick a time that's not crazy crowded. Like I wouldn't go, Easter week or whatever. I put the Festival of the Holidays kind of going early December, since I know they have discounts already out for this year. So I was kind of thinking of that in my head. So I did a value and had a 15% discount off the hotel. I said they would go for 6 nights. So you'd have your check-in day and your check-out day, 5 days in the middle that you would go to the parks, and would not have hoppers. Because I think with a 4-year-old, it's just too much stress to go back and forth. So that gives me ticket costs for the family is $660, or per person, $1,980 for the family. The hotel with the discount was $213 per night, or $1,275 overall. So I've already spent $3,255 out of the $5,000 budget. That was definitely one thing that came clear as I was doing this. Is like, it is hard to do Disney for a week on only $5,000.
Yes. My only question is, I relatively did almost the same thing as you, but you picked 5 tickets versus any other number. Why 5?
Like I said, I wanted to be able to take it easy and have more time and kind of do that. And my other thinking was, with the 4-year-old, your first trip, and you're not doing hoppers, I think you want more than 1 day at Magic Kingdom. So this lets you have 2 Magic Kingdom days and then 1 day at each of the other parks. Was sort of what I was thinking.
And at the end, after we do this, we have like a kind of calendar or weekly kind of calendar to kind of go through what you think the cadence should be. So after we know how much money we're spending, we're going to figure out what you're going to get for it.
Yep.
Right, so what's next?
So other elements, I started looking at the bolt-ons and things like that. I didn't pick too many. I didn't want to overcomplicate
Well, let's go
things.
with your merchandise budget, your dining budget, and your Genie Plus.
Okay.
Type stuff
Sorry.
first.
Yeah. So
bolt-ons last.
So merchandise and basically total souvenir budget, I put $250. I was kind of looking, I kind of put that in more towards the end when I saw how much was left over. I think that's sort of a reasonable amount for most people. You could get a couple plushes and hats and shirts and stuff, not overdo it, but enough for everyone to get something. Yeah, exactly. For dining, I didn't do the dining plan. Again, in my head, I was thinking this year, when dining plan's not out yet. I'll have to think about that again more for the future. I'm not sure if I would do the dining plan anyway, but I didn't even really consider it. Instead, I put a dining budget of $200 per day, which would give you $1,200 for the stay. I figure that's enough for a couple character meals, which I think is a good thing to do when you have a youngster and kind of your first trip and stuff like that, and still plenty of money to have kind of snacks whenever you feel like it, for the parents to get some adult beverages and stuff like that. That seemed like a decent number. Looking online for sort of guidance on this, anywhere from like $150 to $200 for a family was sort of the range given. So I guess
for a whole day or
per day. Per day for the family. Okay. So I guess I rounded up a little bit. I guess I'd rather have more money. We always wind up spending more money on, we see some cool snacks. We see some, adult beverages, we want that sort of thing. And I don't want that to be, I want them to feel like they have money that if they want to buy a snack, they can, and that sort of thing. So I didn't want to go too tight on the dining budget.
That's definitely fair. I'm curious to see how we spend that money.
As far as the bolt-ons, the only ones I really picked, though, I did pick Genie Plus, but just for 1 day. I don't want to overdo it with them, but I do think there's enough value at Magic Kingdom. So I said they would get it for one of their Magic Kingdom days. And then I also said they would get Memory Maker because I think that, just your first trip, which who knows, it might be your only trip, get some pictures of the kids and stuff like that when you're going around and get the ride photos and all that sort of stuff. I think it makes for a good memory. I looked through all the other things. I mean, a lot of them feel more like not for your first trip, right? You're not going to do like a tour at Animal Kingdom or something like that, necessarily your first trip, especially if you have a 4-year-old and stuff like that. So I didn't really pick too many of the other bolt-ons. It was really just the One Day of Genie Plus and Memory Maker.
So we got no individual lightning lanes, which I actually agree with you because the lightning lanes are more thrill rides and not for a 4-year-old.
Exactly.
And okay, so at this point, we have out of $5,000, we got a week at the park, 6 nights, 7 days, value resort, 15% discount that you added on there. We've got 5 days at the parks, and you're left with $51 to kind of spread around. Okay, so that being said, we've got a weekly planner. You have them on the first day, arriving sometime in the afternoon, and then leaving on the 7th day sometime in the morning. So what's happening in between those days?
So definitely thought the first day you would just take it easy, get used to the resort, maybe do some pool time, maybe if they're showing a movie that night or the fire, kind of just take it easy and sort of enjoying and easing into the vacation. I would kick off Magic Kingdom. I have it as their first day, and their last day would be Magic Kingdom days. I put, just doing a quick service meal for lunch, either a midday break or perhaps taking a break on the monorail and do one of the quick services at one of those resorts, going back for fireworks.
I want to comment on your second day.
Okay.
I would never leave the park for a monorail resort quick service meal for dinner and then try to get back into the parks for fireworks. That seems to me like a
you don't think you could get back by 9 o'clock?
Not that you couldn't get back, but you'd be fighting to get back, I think, because of the crowds getting up in the main street, and it's already going to be packed and crazy.
I guess how early you go or whatever. I was just trying to think of some way to have sort of somewhat of a break from the park because you're going to be tired. So
fair. Okay.
And I didn't want to just do like a midday break every day. So I came up with that. For day 2 would be Epcot, and I have put in there doing the Akashish breakfast. It could be one of the other meals, but I think getting a princess meal in is pretty. It didn't say if it was what the child is into, if they're into princesses or not. But I think doing one of those ones where it's Akashish or Cinderella's Royal Table, something with kind of typical.
And the breakfast
Disney
is cheaper too,
and the breakfast is a little cheaper, and I think it's good food, and just like I think it's a good kind of fancy-ish meal, because you're in the castle and stuff like that, but it's not over the top. I would then say take a midday break and probably do lunch because you've been up early having breakfast and stuff like that, and then you would come back and do the food booths for dinner and fireworks that evening.
What time of the year are you going? You've selected. I don't know if you've selected.
I did Festival of the Holidays, so my thought was sort of early December.
Okay.
But it's just because I figured they said they didn't care, and as long as they can go during a slow time, might as well see some of the holiday decorations while you're at it.
Cool.
And one thing obviously we didn't get into here is I don't know what days the holiday parties are and stuff like that. I would suggest scheduling the days around that and stuff like that, but I didn't take that into account. Day 3 was Animal Kingdom. I was proposing another meal that they would do as their table service being Tusker House, because I think that's a good, has all sorts of types of food, but it's a little bit different. And then you get, your kind of your Mickey, your Donald and stuff like that there. So it's another good character one. Eating at Satuli or one of the other quick service options. And then, kind of calling it a little bit of an early day because now that's your 3rd park day in a row. Go back to the resort, rest, maybe do some pool time and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Day 5 is Hollywood Studios. Just, the food would just be quick service at various locations. Probably also take a midday break because that park can be a little intense, just with everything going on. And then come back. I put fireworks. I probably meant Fantasmic. You would come back and see that in the evening because I think that's a crowd pleaser. And then you would end with Magic Kingdom and would be kind of just catching up on everything you didn't get to on your first day. And then either take a midday break and come back for fireworks again, or maybe you're kind of finishing up and you want to do another early close there to get ready for your last day, and then you leave on the last day.
This mimics almost closely with one of my first vacations with my family that I planned by myself. So I think this is pretty well done. It certainly wasn't $5,000. It was significantly cheaper at that point. But no, I think this is good. And it kind of, today's $5,000 is not yesterday's $5,000
Right.
for sure, but it shows you that you could do quite a bit. And as I was doing my own exercise, which I'm going to start on my vacation, it just goes to show how much less expensive it is when you're a family of 3, not a family of 5.
I mean, that's what we keep getting back to is like, you can, stay at a value instead of a deluxe or even offset or whatever. But at the end of the day, you need the tickets to the park.
Yeah.
And when you're a family of 5, everything's times 5 and it just adds up. But, this is a pretty typical, probably young family or whatever. And $5,000, I'm sure, is a lot of money to them. But it does kind of show you can get a pretty full vacation. You can't add on all the extras, but you can get like a fairly full Disney vacation for that, I think.
100%. So going on to mine, we got a $5,000 budget, like we said before, 2 adults, 1 child. My length of stay is 5 nights, 6 days, staying at a value. I'm going in the winter, and I've seen some discounts at 20%, so I selected a 20% discount.
Okay.
They're a young family, so that could be at Pop, that might be at an All-Star, whatever. We're getting a good deal at that point. That being said, full ticket package is $1,700. We're looking at about $200 per night for that All-Star, and then about $1,000 for the stay. So we're looking at about $2,700. That's about a full $500 cheaper than your combination. Just one less day.
It does go show you what just one more day does. That's why I was saying it was really hard to get that full week for $5,000.
Yeah, exactly. I had it originally that way, but I pared it down, right? So my souvenir budget is very much close to yours. For those that are watching on YouTube, I'm looking up at my higher monitor. That's why I'm looking up here. So your budget was $250. Mine was $200. I figured, the parents are probably getting souvenirs for themselves, maybe like a T-shirt or something else like that, or ears or something, and a couple toys for like $20-$30 for their kid, and you're good to go at that point. My additional expenses, and I think it's because I kept editing the sheets and you're kind of already working on it. This kind of popped up. So I put it as an aside, a $200 character meal charge here. So I think that should cover all 3 people, 2 adults and a child, plus a tip or something else like that. Yep. And probably some money left over at that point. So party merch was $200. We're not doing any parties with kids, and $200 for an additional expense. My dining budget, I went with a quick service dining plan, right? So I'm using all the tools that I can, and these people are planning it now because they're going next March, of course, Phil, and or actually next Christmas because I selected winter time. I selected winter time because it's not as hot, it's more pleasant, and if you go during August for your first time, you might never want to go back to Walt Disney World again. So we want to give them a good experience. With the dining plan cost, because I think the dining plan makes sense when you have kids under 10. If you have any kids over 10, it's a big no-go. And it's also the quick service plan, so it's not too expensive. So it comes out to be, with 1 quick service credit and a snack, you're getting about total cost for the stay was $689. I put an extra $100 a day in that budget for other quick service meals or snacks that you might want to get, that type of thing. But I know when you're on a budget with kids, I remember when my wife and I went down for a quick weekend, we wanted to do it as dirt cheap as possible. The kids were sharing hamburgers and
for sure,
of fries, that type of thing. So my total dining budget, which is the additional $100 per day and the whole quick service meal, comes out to be about $1,200, rounding up $1,189. Which is exactly what you want.
That's right.
You had, except that I have an additional $200 for a character meal on there, so I'm spending about $1,400.
Okay.
My Genie Plus budget was exactly like yours. I picked 1 Genie Plus day for Magic Kingdom. And then my total bolt-ons, what I selected Genie Plus, I selected Memory Maker just like you did. And I remember when you were putting on your bolt-on sheet, you had Memory Maker for $100. Sir, it is not $100 anymore. It is like $160-something, or $154, I want to say.
Oh, is it?
I had it here somewhere. Excuse me. I'll look it up real quick. Memory Maker is $169.
Okay.
I think you saved $10 if you book it earlier. That being said, my total bolt-ons was $194 because I did a stroller rental as well. Because I would recommend to a first-time guest, you get your umbrella stroller just for getting to and from the airport, and then you get the big one. You rent it for like $25 a day, and you got some place to take a nap, and you don't have to lug that into the airport and stuff like that. That would always be my suggestion. Okay, with that all being said, out of my $5,000 budget, I've got $67 left over at $4,932 total. And the big difference between all of this is I think my food budget is a little bit bigger than yours. That being said, my 6-day event, I'm saying we were going to arrive in the morning, for lunch at the resort. So I'm thinking maybe you leave at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. You get there like 10, 11 o'clock, just in time to get food at the resort. Use a quick service credit at lunch or at dinner. We're just eating at the resort that day. And we're just hanging at the pool, kind of getting into things. Maybe they take a trip to Disney Springs. Maybe they don't. They've got young kids, one young child, so maybe they don't do that. But anyway, you've been traveling all day. You've been swimming. It's time to get some sleep and head to Hollywood Studios your first day in the morning. Again, you're going bright and early. Maybe you do like Woody's Lunchbox. Maybe do the Backlot Express for dinner, and then you do Fantasmic. It's a full day at Hollywood Studios. And I think with a 4-year-old, you're doing all the Disney Junior character meet and greets. You're doing the dance party. You're doing Beauty and the Beast. You're doing a lot of shows, and that will fill up a full day because you're not going in there trying to get like Falcon and Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. You're not doing all those things. So you're doing a lot of shows that takes a lot of time and juggling the show schedules. So I think we needed more of a day. Maybe you take a break during the day. Maybe you got a good deal at Pop Century. You can take the Skyliner back. I do not have that on the schedule. That being said, day number 3, we're sleeping in. We had a very long day at Hollywood Studios. And then we're going to just do Epcot the whole day. And it's just basically we're going to the festival booths. We're checking out the different foods. We're walking around. We're doing our Epcot thing, nothing special. And we're hanging out at night for the fireworks show. And then because we slept in, we went pretty long into the night, but we're going to wake up really early and go to Animal Kingdom. And we're going to have a typical Animal Kingdom day, right? So get there around 8, 9 o'clock. We see a bunch of animals. 4-year-olds love animals. So we're going to do a lot of walking, checking out the animals. We're going to do the safari, maybe the Navi River journey. We're not doing Flight of Passage. We're not doing Everest. Maybe we grab some food. Maybe Dad can have a beer at the Harambe Market and kind of watch the dancers and the singers kind of do their thing while the baby takes a nap in the shade by Tusker House. And then sometime in the afternoon, we're going to head back to our resort and, maybe we hang out, maybe go to the bar, maybe we let the kids splash around the pool, but it's going to be an early night, right? So we were up late night, early morning this day, because the next day is our big day. It's the last day there. It's a big time Magic Kingdom day, and we're going to be there all day long, right? It's our last day there. It's our last push. And then we've got Chef Mickey's for like a lunchtime brunch type of thing. That's where our $200 comes into play. And I still think it's going to be 60, 60, 40. So you're spending $160 for your family plus maybe a $30 tip. That gets you about $200. That's going to be our big midday break, right? We're going to walk over to the Contemporary. We're going to be in the air conditioning for a couple hours. You get to see the Fab Five. Dinner's quick service somewhere. And then, of course, fireworks. And then you leave the next day. So that's my roundout. And it's amazing how I got everything. We basically have the same schedule almost. We're doing the same things. But you got one more day in your vacation, and I'm trying to figure out how that's possible. But where is our main difference here, Phil?
So you had a little bit more for the food.
But it's only $200.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much that's the hotel night. And then how do we do the tickets then?
I don't know. So if I went and changed my thing and we're doing this live, this may be good for the show or bad for the show. I don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway. If I change for 5 days and 6 nights, I'm now minus $600 somewhere. Oh, you know what it is? I have sales tax on my sheet.
Okay.
And that's $350.
I booked during a very special promo where there's no sales tax, apparently.
There you go. Disney's getting aggressive with their discounts. Excellent. But there you have it, guys. Let us know what you think. Phil, do you have any comments other than how similar our vacations are?
Yeah, no, I think it worked out. I think it was interesting to look through. Like I said, once you add tax, I guess it'll be even harder to fit a full weekend. Yes. I was kind of focusing on let's get 2 Magic Kingdom days and stuff like that. I think it'll be interesting as we go forward where maybe we add some more information about the family's interests. or something like that,
Sure.
because I think that might drive adding some more bolt-ons, because I think both of us were like, young family, one kid, don't do any extras or something like that. But I think maybe next time or something we'll do something where doing more of the extras is kind of the goal, or in the spirit of what this group would want.
I want to throw in some things where it's like we want to be 6 days on property, but we only want 2 park days. What do we do with our time there, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do we stay? I mean, I want to throw different like curveballs into this, and I think it'd be kind of fun to see what we come with.
Yeah,
up with
and that's,
these.
I guess, a little bit what I meant with like interests and sort of what they want to get out of it. And maybe it's like, look, we want to be close to Epcot, or we want to, like that type of a thing.
Mhm.
Where, yeah,
I'm 100% behind this. You will see these if you're listening to this and you want to see these things in action. Check out our YouTube video. Make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment, and you can kind of see them. And then if you follow us on any of the social media platforms, you will definitely catch these. Phil will tweet them out somewhere, or thread them out, like whatever that.
yeah, I'm
that
threading
term
and
is now.
threading.
Okay, so we've had a long show already, and we haven't had all of our things. So maybe we have to change the cadence of some of this stuff. That being said, we spend a lot of time with the Genie Plus stuff. So our top 3, Phil, this was yours. Why don't you tell everybody?
Yeah, so I was trying to think of something a little bit different that we haven't covered, and with the Journey of Water looking like it's going to be opening soon, I thought of one thing I'm looking forward to with that attraction is that it's kind of a low-key attraction, right? It's just something that won't take a ton of planning. You can just kind of walk through it, check it out, just take up a little time, and sort of one of those, what do you do when you have a half hour to kill or something like that? What are the types of things you look forward to doing in the parks that don't take a ton of planning, don't have to stand in queue for a half hour, aren't, client cast member heavy or anything like that, just sort of walk through type things. And examples I gave was, maybe spending time at the aquarium at Epcot, or doing the Swiss Family Treehouse, or any of the trails in Animal Kingdom. So those types of things where it's like, we got a little bit of time, we maybe want to get out of the heat. What are things that you can do?
I'll go first with my top 3. I gained a huge appreciation for some of these things in our last trip in December.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first one I really liked was the Christmas tree stroll in Disney Springs. They had like 12 to 14 different Christmas trees, and you could go buy a thing. You could go find them all. Or there was a list online. You can just kind of navigate through the parks and kind of find them all. We did that, and we just kind of like took pictures by all of them. I really liked that. It gave another element to Disney Springs rather than just shopping and eating. It was kind of a cool thing for the kids. The second one was the character hunt in Epcot for the holiday time. It was finding Olaf in each one of the countries. I thought that was really cool. You turned it in, and I forget what they got, but they got a cool little widget at the end of that. And that would be the DuckTales thing in Epcot that's going on right now. People are really liking that. It's DuckTales, isn't it? Right?
Yes. So the new thing they brought back is the DuckTales in-world showcase. That is sort of separate from the character hunts. The DuckTales is more of like an interactive thing using phones and stuff like that. But the character hunts usually are related to the festivals and stuff going on.
But I'm more talking about like any kind of overlay that you have and different, like, give the kids something to look for as the
in World Showcase.
In the World Showcase, for sure. I got a huge more appreciation for that, doing that. And then my third is just walking through Animal Kingdom in general and kind of like hanging out in Africa. I mean, I really love, that's my favorite. One of my favorite parts in all of Walt Disney World is kind of hanging out in Africa and Animal Kingdom and having a beer or a cup of coffee or whatever you're into, and just kind of enjoying the people watching. There's a couple places in the shade where you can kind of hang out too and watch what's going on.
Nice.
So Phil, what are your top 3?
Yeah, so my top 3, and I was trying to keep them, because when you mentioned about like wandering through World Showcase and stuff like that, I kind of could have put 3 versions of that for my list, but I tried to keep away from that. But the first one I put was, we always spend some time with the train set in Germany in Epcot. It's not like a huge thing to walk through, but they have a couple paths through that, and I know my kids always enjoy looking at the trains and seeing if one of them's off the tracks or anything like that. So that's something we do every trip. One thing we did last trip and the kids really enjoyed, and I think we'll make time for it this trip, is the Tom Sawyer Island in Magic Kingdom. It's sort of just this break from all the craziness that can be Magic Kingdom, and it's a place the kids can kind of run off some steam. So I think that's a top one for us.
That is my number one thing to do the next time in Magic Kingdom, is to go there. Because after seeing you like right before the Festival of Fantasy Parade, like waving my hat at you across the river, I was like, I need to get on there. That seems like really kind of like away from like everything that's
exactly
going on.
I mean, when you get into some of those caves and stuff like that, you could be in like you don't feel like you're in Magic Kingdom or anything like that. And the last one I put was One Man's Dream over in Hollywood Studios. great air conditioning break, and where you can kind of just wander and see all the different exhibits. They're usually changing out a couple things based on the new movies and things like that. So that's always another place we usually wind up spending a little bit of time when we need a break.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I haven't really spent too much time like kind of going through. So I think I need to give that more some due diligence next time I'm in Hollywood Studios, which happens to be my wife's least favorite park. She totally gets lost in the park constantly and just doesn't like walking around back and forth in that park. So that maybe that's why I'm influenced that way in Hollywood Studios. All right, that's very good. I love that top three. We're just about at the hour mark, but you have to buckle up and sit down for our DBC engagement. And we didn't get a lot of engagement because it devolved into a whole nother argument when I started posting spreadsheets that morning. So the question was last week, what kind of historical offer can Walt Disney World provide that would make you drop whatever you're doing and plan a trip as soon as possible? Like you could have a trip from a year from now, 6 months from now, but like something so good came out that like I got to get down there and use it. And Wheezy was the first person that responded. And he mentioned that it was a free park hopper when you buy 4 or more day pass and stay at the deluxe resort. I thought that was even more juicy for staying at the deluxe resort. I think you can get away with getting free hoppers if you just buy more than 4 tickets. I think that would have been fair, but I think that's a good one. Like free hoppers, that might be. I don't know if that would get me to book ASAP because I can go down there without hoppers. So, what about you, Phil? Will that get you to book right away, or just get you kind of?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's maybe a piece of it. And I know a few people talked about this too. I was trying to find some of the exact quotes, but I know some other people mentioned it, where it's just tell me the whole package total and show how it's a lower amount. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week. There used to be all those commercials where it's like, we can go down with the whole family for $1,600 or whatever that, that would be now, probably $4,000 or whatever, but like make it like a realistic number that I could fit kind of everything in. And maybe that's where you add in, and with this package, you get Genie Plus free, you get hoppers free, whatever it is. That now it's like, okay, now I'm getting more things in my bundle. I'm starting to see the value. That would get me excited about planning a trip. So
yeah, no, 100%. I'm there with you. Because then no one else responded because I just started vomiting numbers on everybody because I really wanted to talk about my thing. And I don't think anybody's going to surprise. You can't give me any hotel discounts unless it's like you stay for free if you buy this many tickets type of thing, right? Which Disney won't do. And I don't think they're going to go beyond 40% off hotels at this point. So what I did was to me, it's all about tickets, right? Family of 5. That's the biggest barrier of entry for any Walt Disney World vacation is cost of tickets. And the 4 park tickets that offer right now at $100 a piece is nice, but you're only bringing the price down to what it was pre-pandemic. And it's not historical. It's going to be like, without even thinking about it, like 6 months ago, I'm like, yeah, park tickets are like $100 to $120. No. They're like $150 a piece right now. So it kind of caught me off guard. So I did some spreadsheeting as we do on this podcast, Phil, and I put a bunch of numbers together. So the first one was, I just wanted to look at like what happened to the ticket package, right? It used to be like pre-pandemic, you buy like 6 or 7 tickets and they get insanely cheap per day. And it just feels really good just adding it. I remember in 2019, we added an extra park ticket and my bill went up $50 for like everybody. And I thought that was awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I put together the cost of a whole vacation from 1 day to 10 days. It's a family of 4. And if you wanted cost per, the trip, we can do the individual ones. But the inflation is about 19% increase because $1 in 2019 is worth $1.19 in 2023. So that's where everything's multiplied. So all these are all adjusted for inflation. So basically what it comes down to, 2023 versus 2029. For example, the cost of a family is basically, I'm taking 2023 minusing 2029, how much more expensive it is. For a family, if basically one ticket is $57 for a family of 4, more expensive for a single day ticket, which isn't too bad. If you want to compare the cost adjusted for inflation, in 2019, a ticket was $130. Today is $144. Not a big deal. But it really comes into play once you start hitting that 6, 7, 8 day mark. And if you remember, I think it was sometime last year, they adjusted where you get those discount ranges in the parks and stuff like that. Really kind of screwed things up. And if you were going for 6 days, right, it's like that's kind of like the magic number. It's either 5 or 6.
Yeah.
When you're staying for a week, and I just picked 6 days here at random. I've got all of them listed here. Cost per family difference 2019 to 2023 in 2023 dollars is $785. That's nearly $1,000 more you're paying for park tickets for getting the exact same product.
Yeah. And I just want to echo that to make it clear that this is the 2019 with 20 points of inflation or 19 points of inflation added to it already. This isn't the price of today versus the 2019 price. This is $2023 for both of them, and it's almost $800 difference. So
yeah, I mean, to me that screams like, what are you? I mean, we're getting less, right? Like, I'm not even counting all the other stuff. We're not getting Magic Express. You're not getting free Magic Bands. You're not getting Fast Pass Plus anymore. You're not getting the food's more expensive.
There's less Streetmosphere and stuff like that, and
all the extras are gone. All those are. I mean, there's even just extra Magic Hour events.
Even little. I mean, kind of basic. There's less park hours. The parks are open. They're not staying open as late as ours. So your per hour cost is really going up, at the park or whatever.
To me, that's what really flabbergasts me. I'm like, why is it so expensive to go to Disney now? I'm like, I'm more successful in my life. I've done well for myself, and I'm better off than I was 6 years ago. But why am I struggling to go? And it's because they tacked on an arbitrary $1,000 or $785 to my vacation for zero reason and took things away. And if you want to know why people are bitter about the cost of Disney World, that's because that's the reason. So then I put together another chart to talk about because the way I get down, because the impetus for this was basically Universal put out a thing where you get 3 days free with a 2-day park ticket, right? So you get 5 tickets for the price of 2. That is the type of deal that would get me to go down to Walt Disney World almost immediately. If you can give me 2 park tickets for or 5 park tickets for the cost of 2, I'm seriously considering booking a trip to Walt Disney World. And I think Universal is doing a really smart thing here. They're getting people thinking about, like, what does it cost to go down for 5 days at Universal? Because we've got a park that we want somebody to
or not even just the cost. Like, okay, now I'm spending the full 5 days at Universal. In the past, it was like, okay, I'll add on 2 Universal days to my Disney trip. Now it's no, you can spend 5 days here and enjoy yourselves.
Not yet, but I think they're getting people used to thinking about
it. Yeah,
Universal,
exactly.
Epic Universe coming in 2 years. So anyway, going back to this, so I put out now a chart for if you buy 1 ticket and you got 1 free, what is the cost difference between 2023 prices, or if you had to buy 2 tickets at full price at in 2019, still adjusted for inflation. To kind of give you an idea, anything up to about 3 tickets getting any number for free. So, for example, if you buy 1 ticket, got 1 free, you're still spending about $100 less in 2023 than you did in 2029. So it's a good deal, right? Yeah. Like you're getting some stuff for free. You buy 1, get 1 free. In 2019, you're buying 2. You're still paying more in 2019. That does make sense. And you got to also give you an example. If I got in 2023, if I had to buy 1 ticket and I got 9 free in 2019, I'm paying $400 more 4 years ago, which to me, getting 9 free tickets doesn't seem like it should be that way, but it is. So where it gets interesting is right around, as you can imagine, the 4, 5, and 6 day ticket packages where things got changed around with their discount in the world, because we were just, again, picking that 6-day mark in that last example. If I were to get buy 5, if the deal was from Disney, buy 5, get 2 free, right? I would be spending $152 more than 2019. So just think about this. If I bought 7 tickets 4 years ago, I would be saving at full price. I'd be saving $152 compared to buying 5, getting 2 free today.
Right. So a 7-day ticket was $152 less than a 5-day ticket is now. Basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So another kind of thing that also stood out was if I were to let's pick one that's kind of like buy 4, get 2 free. Right? Yeah. Buy 4, get 2 free. It's $84 more expensive today to buy 4 tickets than it is to buy a pack of 6 or 6 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So in order to get me going, I need to be in this positive range. And it only happens in the 5, 6, or 7 day mark at current prices. And to me, it's like, I want to get back to 2019 prices, and those were still expensive at the time. So they need to severely discount the price of the tickets and give me a lot of free ones, basically, for me to kind of jump out of my seat at this. Any key takeaways from all this? Do you agree with the premise that the only thing that gets you to book randomly is a ticket deal like this?
I think
Is there anything
so.
else?
I mean, I think that's the biggest, like it could be bundled together with something, more, kind of every other little add-ons that add on to values. But I totally agree that, we just saw it on our spreadsheet. No matter what you do, you're, family of 3, 4, 5, you're at 2,000, 2,500 just for tickets. If you can
Tickets
make
and hotel.
Yeah. Or even just the tickets. I mean, whatever it is.
Family of 5.
But,
yeah.
yeah. Once you get up to like a family of 4 or 5, you're a couple $1,000s just for tickets. If you can make that 2,200, 1,500 just for the tickets, whether it's from savings or giving you free ones or whatever it is, then I think it makes it a lot more plausible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if Disney wants to force me to engage in different activities that might make me spend more money at the parks. Like, you could get all these free tickets and discounted hotels, but you have to buy the dining plan, like at full price. I could probably see how that works out because I'm getting I'm spending more money on food, but I like food. You're giving me the opportunity to go and spend money on food that I might have already spent, but now I'm forced to, and Disney's getting the dollars from that way, type of thing. Like there could be balances in those type of things. Comedy clubs do it all the time. It's a 2-drink minimum, 3-drink minimum, that type of thing. Like I think Disney could be more clever than forcing you to buy 2 beers when you go to Magic Kingdom. But I think I like your. I don't think they go in this route, at least right now. But I like your idea of them putting a package together. Go to Disney World for a family for 4 for $3,000, right? And going back to your breakdown, if I just add one child to your thing, you're looking at about basically $4,000 for 6 nights, 5 tickets, 2 adults, 2 children at a value resort with a 15% rack rate discount. You're looking at $3,900. That's before you spend a dime on food.
Yeah.
And to me, that's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, maybe and not that I've spoken out against the dining plan in general, but maybe that's where that value for the dining, the free dining. Because if you tell me it's $3,900 and my food's included, then maybe that's a little bit more appealing, right?
Yep. I mean, if you want to match what you do, I'm going to click the hopper button on here. So because the last time you had to buy hoppers, you're looking at the difference between $3,900 and $4,300. It's an extra $400 on it. I will spend $400 to get a standard dining plan for the duration of my stay. And I get hoppers on top of that.
I kind of feel like that's where the number is, where if I can get down there for the bulk of a week, all in for like
less than $5,000,
well less than $5,000. We saw how much we struggled to kind of make that work, right? And that was only for a family of 3. So yeah, that's kind of that ballpark where once, whenever some of my friends start looking for their first time, they're like, I can't like get anything set up and I'm already over 5,000, 7,000, whatever it is, once you start looking at higher end hotels and stuff. And it's like, yeah. And I think that just turns people off.
I mean, if you do 5 children or family of 5, 6 nights, 5 tickets with hoppers, 15% rack rate discount somewhere. Maybe actually let's switch.
Yeah,
this
we'd have
to
take
0.
that off because you're getting the other thing.
You're at $5,300, which is quite a bit. But if my food is all free and I don't have to think about it, I might. I mean, I'm not dropping everything and booking that trip.
It makes it more appealing.
I'm thinking about it.
But it's just that knowing that what that all-in number is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's value at free dining if you're spending rack rate like $5,300 for a full week down, but I get like a sit down meal for everything, and I can go to character dining. I don't have to worry about food because I know food's going to be another $2,000 easy.
Yeah.
With everything.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I think we've gone long enough on this, Phil. This is why I love Mouse Mastermind, is because we could start playing with these things and figuring out maybe a discount deal challenge could be in there. We can find the most perfect discount package thing, whatever. We can use this tool for a lot of different things. I really like having this spreadsheet here on the fly. So this week's DBC engagement topic is kind of again all along a theme. It's because let's say maybe Disney is too expensive. But the question is now 1 year or more since your last trip. Disney has not added anything substantial because Disney's not adding anything substantial in the next couple of years. So this is where we're going to be in 2 years from now. Are you more or less likely to plan a trip? So does the time from your last trip trump any of these exponential raises in costs that we all just went over? Right now, what is the longest time you've been between trips that you can see yourself taking with today's dollars? I'm not talking about like you took a break for 5 years back in 2005 and you didn't get back to 2011 because for whatever reasons. I'm talking about right now. What was the last time you went down? When is the next time you can reliably see yourself going with today's typical discounts that are out there right now? So that'll be something to talk about this week, kind of blend in together with different ticket offers. If you want to talk about the different discounts that you forgot to talk about last week, throw them in there. Yeah. You can say like, I'm not going to go for another 5 years because this cost is ridiculous. But if I could get down for less than $5,000, less than $3,000, whatever your situation might be, and the people that are going with you, I think that'd be a really cool discussion to have, and we can kind of keep this conversation going, and all of our billions of listeners might help influence Disney in their decision making. Did we forget anything today, Phil?
No, I think we covered it all.
I think we got it all. If you're still listening, thank you for continuing to listen. We really appreciate that. Make sure you hop on Discord and join the conversation anywhere that you see fit. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone.